Alright, hello there, thrill seekers. It's Brad and the flowers. And Ziggy is out there. He's sort of camouflaged in among the flowers. I don't know if you can see him. He's right over... Let's see. No. There. Okay. So, that was a little piece of a song called It's Working by MGMT. Always liked that song, and it's relevant to today's video. But before I do the rest of today's video, I gotta tell you that Jeff Hardy, aka Jeffro Small, guitar player of Zero Defects, the hardcore punk band, I don't know if we're a hardcore punk band anymore, but whatever we are, the band I'm in, he has been working hard to get our albums up on the streamings. They were up there for a little while, and then they got taken down, and now they're up again. So you can find Zero Defects' 2 albums, Caught in a Reflection and Debasement, on Spotify and Amazon Music and all the rest of the streaming platforms. So go have a listen to them. I put up a video of one of the songs that's on one of those albums, and it is called Blast Off. And I put the demo version, and I put an alternate mix up on these YouTubes, and you can actually find the real mix on the YouTubes to the actual mix that you find on Spotify. So I got a couple of communications, let's call them, from people, and they are kind of a similar question. On my recent video called, what is it called? My Depression and My Zen, I got this message that says, if one does Zazen for so long and still has depression, it is logical to conclude that Zazen doesn't work. And I said to this person, what does doesn't work mean? And the person said, doesn't end suffering. And my answer to that was, my videos must be pretty bad then. I thought I'd explain that. But hey, when you find a practice that ends depression forever rather than giving a realistic way to deal with it, let me know. And I got another message from a friend who gave me some questions he'd like answered. And one of them was, I struggle not to lose my SHITs around my kids. Is Zazen not working? So, is Zazen working? How do we know if it's working? That was the question that MGMT posed in that song, and I think they were probably talking about drugs. But, my dad did this thing with me. I was watching Public Image Limited on American Bandstand. This is like the one appearance they did on that show. And my dad was like, oh, this song is about drugs. Actually, the song wasn't about drugs at all. It just kind of sounded real sludgy and druggy, and he got very upset that I was listening to a song about drugs, but I wasn't. So anyway, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe MGMT's song is not about drugs. It sounds like it's about drugs to me. But the question about is Zazen working is a kind of an interesting one to me, because it sort of... It's basically the same question that I kind of answer all the time. It's about results and about wanting results and about doing a goalless practice. So if you go into Zazen as... Ziggy just walked away. I just wondered where he went. If you go into Zazen as a way to deal with depression, and you think that the Zazen is going to cure your depression, you're probably going to be disappointed. What Zazen does, and what I tried to explain in that video, in the case of the depression that I suffer, is that Zazen has allowed me to see the depression differently, which means the depression comes along, but I can kind of regard depression in much the same way as I regard having a cold. So it's just something that happens, and I don't get kind of emotionally involved in it. If you get a cold, most of us don't get emotionally involved in like, oh gosh darn, I shouldn't have gotten a cold. I'm so bad to get a cold. You just figure it's something that happens to the body every once in a while, and you got to deal with it, and you rest, and you take fluids, and you take vitamin C, and you get over it. So that's basically the way I have come to regard depression. I regard depression as something that happens, and I look at it happening and don't try to stop it, don't try to wallow in it, don't try to do anything about it. I just kind of let it be there. When I say don't do anything about it, that's not quite correct. I do some things. I do a kind of self-care routine that people do when they get sick with a cold or something. I kind of look at what I'm eating and how I'm sleeping and what other factors could be involved. If my depression seems to be the kind of thing that I'm liable to sort of pass on to other people the way you pass a cold on to other people, I kind of stay away from other people. If I feel like I'm just going to be like Debbie Downer all day, and I might just kind of hang out by myself for a couple days till it passes. That sort of thing is what I do. Now, what this questioner seems to be looking for is something to end it. And there was another questioner on the same video, a commenter, who was saying that he had depression, or he tried to deal with his depression through Zazen for 20 years, and it just made it worse, and blah blah blah. And this same guy, the same person, said, well, that's obviously evidence that Zazen is not working. So working is the question, and this thing about I struggle not to lose my stuff when I am I struggle not to use my stuff around my kids. Is my Zazen not working? The reason I stumbled just then is I did something to my phone. I don't know what the hell I did, but it's like typing out my words as I speak. Wow, I didn't know we could do that with technology these days. Sorry to distract you, but I got distracted. Like I looked down and it's like typing out my words. Anyway, so he seems to be asking kind of the same thing. Is my Zazen working if I still struggle with this? Well, what does working mean? Zazen is not an antidepressant. It's not a cure for depression. And in fact, I am a bit suspicious of cures for things like depression. I don't want to get into an argument with anybody in the comments section, but a few people did comment on that last video that the standard idea of antidepressants being a cure for depression seems to be kind of falling apart. Some of the research I read based on links people had sent me seems to imply that people got as much benefit from a 30-minute walk in the woods, or maybe a walk anywhere, as they got from taking antidepressants. Now, I'm not saying that's true, but I'm saying it kind of buttresses my own suspicion of the whole thing, the whole pharmaceutical approach to things. There are also meditation practices where the people advertising them will claim that it's going to cure your suffering. And often Buddhism is presented in this as this because the Buddha is said to have made a practice that was mainly intended to address the problem of suffering. So it's not intended to address the problem of finding God or going to heaven or these kind of religious things. It's intended to be a practice that deals with the real problem of suffering. That's often the way it's presented. Different people present it different ways, but that's one of the ways. So by that token, one would expect that if one did Zazen for long enough, and I've done it for 40 years, so that's long enough, I would suppose, by most people's calculations, then I shouldn't be suffering anymore. But what does suffering mean? I mean, there's a kind of a cliche going around that pain is inevitable, suffering is optional, or something like that. I don't remember exactly how it goes. I don't like those little cute phrases much anyway. But that's kind of, even though I said I don't like that phrase, that's kind of the way it is. Karma is a thing. Now, I had some arguments with people on this channel about that too. But I really believe that, and I talked about it, and there's a video called, what is it called? Trying to Understand Karma Will Make You Crazy. If you want to see my feelings about karma, I only put it up like 2 weeks ago, I think, so it should be easy to find. Karma is inevitable. So a lot of the pain you will feel in life has to do with karma that was set in motion long before this version of you was ever even born. And if you are looking for a practice that will get you out of that, will get you like a, get out of jail free card in Monopoly or whatever, I don't think you're going to find it. I know there are people out there, probably tons of them are on the internet right now, who will claim that they have that and they can help you find it. And if you want to give your money and your time to people like that, I'm not going to stop you, but I think it's a mistake. I don't think you're going to find that. So you're going to have things like depression or struggling not to lose your stuff around your kids are kind of the manifestations of past karma, things that have happened before, decisions you've made and things you've participated in the past that are coming around, and a mindset you've cultivated for years and so forth might be part of why you why you struggle not to lose your stuff around your kids. That kind of stuff is, you can address that in Zazen. You can address it by watching it come up. That's the thing that Zazen is very good with, is that you can sit still and watch your stuff come up. Now, what you do when you watch your stuff come up is kind of your own choice. You can watch your stuff come up and then get upset about it and get angry about it and wallow in it and hold on to it and whatever, if you want. But I think the Zen way of doing things is meant to address that, because it kind of puts you in a position where if you want to do that, you can, but you're going to have a miserable time during this Zen retreat or this half hour of sitting that you chose to do if you wallow in it and hold it and play with it. I speak from experience when I say that. I'm not just talking in abstractions, because that's what I did for the first few years of Zen practice. Is I get all about this stuff and go, the Zazen isn't working. But how did I know it was working is a story I've told a number of times, so I'll tell it again. Which is that when I first started doing Zazen, I wasn't that gung-ho about it. I guess the first year or so I was pretty gung-ho. I was pretty excited about it because it was a new thing in my life, and yay, I'm going to do this then. But after about a year of that, maybe even less than a year, the excitement started to wear off, and I just started to look at it as a thing I was doing, and I wasn't like trying to be a Zen Buddhist, and I wasn't trying to make this, a lifestyle accessory for myself or anything. I wasn't trying to make a career out of it. I wasn't trying to, go into becoming a priest or any of that kind of nonsense. So it was a thing I did, and it was a thing I felt like, well, it's not working, so I might as well drop it. I often felt that way and did that and stopped doing Zazen. And what would happen consistently, and I don't know how many times I went through this cycle, probably, if I knew how many times and I told you how many times, you'd probably think I was stupid, because I would go through this cycle of going, why is everything bad. Everything would be getting noisier. The noises in my brain would start to be louder, and I'd go through more fits of anger or fits of deep depression or this or that, and I'd go through this process of going, what the hell is wrong? Am I drinking too much coffee? Am I not drinking enough coffee? Am I sleeping too long? And what it would always come back to consistently every time is I'd finally go, oh, I'm not doing Zazen anymore. And then I would start again. And starting to do Zazen again wouldn't fix my problems, wouldn't go like, everything is peachy, but it would make things a little better. And there's a book out now, which I've mentioned a few times and I still haven't read, but it's called something like 10% Better or 5% Better. And it's about a guy's experience with meditation. And I kind of feel like I don't need to read the book because I already know that message, because that's the message that I got, which is it makes things a little better. And that can help, because making things a little better can kind of snowball. And, it might be 5% better, and then it might be 7% better, and it might even reach up to 10% better or 17% better. You can kind of make it work for you, and it can accrue on yourself. So that's why I didn't stop practicing, and that's why I felt eventually that the Zazen was working. But working doesn't mean that you never feel any sort of pain anymore, physical pain or emotional pain. You're going to still feel pain. When my dad died a few months ago, or no, a year ago, more than a year ago, my gosh, it's been more than a year now, I felt pain. I felt strong emotional pain for a lot of reasons, because we'd kind of been estranged for the last few years of his life, and I tried to get the relationship back and kind of failed, and anyway, and then he died. So of course I felt a suffering from that, a kind of pain, but also it wasn't the pain and the suffering these days, and I think because of my practice and the depression, doesn't grab the way it used to. And that is a marvelous thing. That is really, I can't say enough about that, how much better it is that I have found a way to kind of look at pain and look at suffering and not get so grabbed on by it. This is not to say that I never do, because sometimes it'll grab you. There's certain things that are triggers for all of us, and there's certain kinds of physical pain that are always going to hurt. Like I had a toothache I talked about in the fall of last year that was really bad, and Zazen isn't going to fix my toothache. A dentist has got to do that. So, you got things, if your depression is bad and the Zazen isn't working, you can always try seeing a therapist or something like that. Maybe addressing the problem specifically in that way is what works for you. I guess what I'm saying is the claims that there is going to be something that's going to erase your karmic propensity to have a bad day, it's just not going to happen. And I'm saying this because I was a person who took to this practice thinking that, I started when I was 19 or so years old, and I would have said by the time I'm in my late 50s, I should be pain-free by then if I keep practicing. It isn't, and it took me a while to figure that out. But it does give a way to kind of watch your karma happen and allow it to happen without getting so involved in it. And it does that by sort of forcing you to just sit with it. So that's why daily practice is important. Practice every day and just sit with whatever is happening that day, and don't try to fix it and don't try to change it. Just be there with it and see it for what it really is. And that's something you got to do yourself. I mean, I can't say I'm going to tell you what it really is and that's going to do the same thing as actually working on yourself. It won't. You got to do that. So I can't help you there. I can just tell you what worked for me. So there you go. All right. If you want to contribute to my working, because this is my work, you can go to the URL that you are seeing on the screen below, which is hardcorezen.info/donate. That is hardcorezen, somewhere around here, .info/donate. hardcorezen.info/donate. And that's where you'll find my PayPal and Patreon links, and those are my main ways of making a living. But as always, you don't got to support me if you don't want to support me. Okay, we will see you next time. Have a good time all the time. Bye. Hi, Ziggy. Are you enjoying the sunshine today? It's nice out here, huh? You're getting some vitamin D. You might be able to see Ziggy's leg is partially shaved. That's because we had a tooth cleaning done on him, and they had to put fluids in him intravenously, and it's still growing back. Anyway, he's got clean teeth now. All right, Ziggy. See you later. Are you annoyed by me talking to Ziggy? All right, bye, Ziggy.